Hello, welcome to my presentation. I'm Zainab and I'm going to present about science and technology in the 19th century, 1820 to 1894. Understanding fossils. Hunter de Buffon recognized that different groups of fossils or organisms appeared at different times in the past. Thomas Jefferson firmly believed that they were the remains of living organisms. This was in the 18th century, and they thought, like Thomas Jefferson, there was no a single soul that became extinct. That he thinks it was against God. But in the 19th century, Georgia Cuvier recognized various fossils, including marine reptiles and flying reptiles, and he classified as them in three centers: living fossils, like the Thomas Jefferson said, an organism changed shape over the course of time. It's like the evolution theory. And extinct, this is the most important one. So he thinks the common reptiles like beings became extinct during the periods. In 1942, Richard Owen coined the word dinosaur to describe these common reptiles. In 1954, Owen prepared an exhibition of dinosaurs for display at the Crystal Palace. Non-Euclidean geometry. There is geometry is called as Euclidean, but the fifth postulate is non-Euclidean. It says if a straight line falling on two straight lines makes the interior angles on the same side less than two right angles, the two straight lines, if produced indefinitely, meet on that side on which are the angles less than two right angles. This has objections, and one of them says then its start point is must be infinitively far. Despite the mathematical validity of non-Euclidean geometries, they were not deemed of much practical value until 1955, when Albert Einstein and Hermann Minkowski showed that gravity could be explained by treating space as four-dimensional mean-type geometry. In other words, space itself is non-Euclidean despite our impression of it. This is because we view it on a small scale. On a small scale, Earth looks flat. On a larger scale, with a different definition of line, it is non-Euclid. Glosses and group theory. Glosses can't be defined as the group theories, but because the ideas of him were before him. But he contributed the most. Group theory is one of the most basic and important concepts of modern mathematics. Galois used his new concept to prove that equations of the fifth degree quintics and higher could never be solved, then after he killed because of his ideas. But in 115 years later, the truth come inside, and it was the truth. Group theory can be traced back to origins in geometry, number theory, and permutation, as well as Albert's studies of Ruffini, Abel, and Galois, although it was Galois who first used the term group. An example of a group is the positive and negative integrals, where the operation is addition and the identity element is zero. Despite its pervasive influence in mathematics, group theory was not seen as particularly useful in application until recently. United States railroads, the railroads were in England, but in the United States it was so much became good. And American steam locomotive of the 19th century. Among the distinguishing features of the American design for a locomotive are the cap that protects the engineer and the fireman as the train travels, the steam whistle and bell for announcing arrivals and for warning people or animals off the tracks, and the cow catcher at the front of the train to prevent the demons from animals or other objects on the tracks. Intellectual and technological property. It's the patent. This is the capitalism thing. The way to separate the benefits of an invention is to restrict the number of people who can exploit it. It is different. Other intellectual and technological property things, but different from patent is ownership. Assignment discovery, which is intended to be shared by everyone, is covered by informal agreement in the scientific community, granting ownership with priority. And then trademark or trade name can be registered and protected, but it is solely for the protection of the owner. Today, there are effective ways for an inventor to file a patent once in one country, and with suitable payments and searches have been accepted in nations around the world. The telegraph. The term telegraph was coined by Claude Chep to describe such methods, a version of which was invented by him and his brothers to signal each other while in school. Today, this kind of system is called a semaphore period and not a telegraph for writing. Today, we do not use telegraph as much as they back in the days, because the telephone and became cheaper communication rised. The idea of the electric telegraph was born when the first experimenters with electricity noticed that electric charge could travel through wires over distances. The electromagnetic magnet whose felt appears when current is then on and disappears when it's off was discovered in the 1820. Then Morse began to study in this field. Morse patented his telegraph in 1837 and officially inaugurated a link between Baltimore, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. on May 40, 1844 by transmitting the message what had code word. This concludes my presentation. I hope I have been clear. Thanks for listening.